Jack, talking ahead of the playoffs, you've got experience, but you know it doesn't get bigger than this, do you?
No, it doesn't. The season was a long and grueling season. The boys did very well. We've had a great season, and I think at the beginning of the season we'd have taken the playoffs, and so we find ourselves in the playoffs. And like you say, it doesn't get bigger than this. These are the games you want to play in as a player. These are the games you want to go to as fans. So for everyone involved, they're really special occasions. You've done it with Coventry, you've done it with Wycombe. What do you take from those experiences into this campaign? Just a sort of awareness that the games aren't like any other games. They're very different to league games. If anything, they're closer to cup games, with the feel and the vibe around the place. They are really intriguing games. There's an excitement around the whole place, and the changing room, and the stadium that league games just don't have. They are what they are. They normally, I think it's one of those things that form kind of goes out the window, and you see certain situations happen, and it just comes out the blue. And I think you can't account for things, and it's that sort of excitement that just gets thrown in when the playoffs come in. The wider football narrative, people who don't necessarily support any of the teams in the playoffs will look at the form and they won't fancy Wycombe, but that suits us as well, right? Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I think during my time here and long before I arrived, Wycombe were used to being the underdogs. So I think if anything, this is the only season that we've had that we've been up there most of the season, and we were first and second, and it's crazy to me, like we only lost back-to-back league games, literally 3 games ago. So to me, it's a situation that Wycombe weren't used to being in. And now, if anything, being the underdogs, I think Charlton have beaten us twice this season. We're all very aware of that. And, maybe being the underdog suits us. And it is something that we've thrived on, like I said, since I've been here at this club. Because I think being underdogs creates a real togetherness, and that's certainly what we've been shown this week. And it's a 2-legged semi-final as well. So how do you approach the games? Because obviously it's not done in 90 minutes. It's over 180 minutes plus all the extra time and whatever we need. So how do you approach those games differently? I think, you have to... it is on your mind during the game that the game isn't over. It's essentially half-time when Sunday night finishes. And I think recent years, with Sheffield Wednesday has shown us that regardless, I think Northampton had another one. I think, regardless of the result, I think players are now smart enough to know that regardless what happens in the first leg, the tie isn't over. And it makes for an interesting game, because I think whether you concede early, whether you score early, I think it's not that you're trying to win that one match. Of course you're trying to win the first game, but you always have an eye on what comes next. And but for us, we've just got to put everything into Sunday night, and then, which we're doing in training this week, and then come next week we will have a different game plan, and based on how the first leg goes. I think you've got to be able to adapt in these situations, because no one's going to be able to write the script for these 2 games, I've no doubt. So just adapt and take it as it comes. You've got the experience, but there would have been a point where you had your first playoff campaign. We've got some young talent in this squad that will be experiencing this for the first time as well. What's your message to them? Do what you've done all season, to be honest. I think it's very cliche to say that treat them as like another game and play them as another game, because everyone's very aware they aren't the usual games. They carry a lot more hype and maybe bigger attendances and rowdier attendances and things, because you have a space at Wembley to play for. That doesn't happen every Saturday. So I think just focusing on the basics, try not let the occasion overawe you. I know that's difficult. I've had it when I was at Coventry. We had really big ties against Notts County, and the atmospheres were really good and boisterous, and the game kind of turned into that. And I've no doubt, the same at Adams Park, and then the same when we go to the Valley next week, it'll turn into the same. So just focus on sort of what you can control and take it from there. And as a captain, I remember speaking to you at the very start of pre-season. You'd just been made club captain. We sat outside in the bright sunshine and we talked about the upcoming season. I can't exactly remember what we spoke about that day. I remember feeling inspired, but looking back now across the season to this point, you must take immense pride about what the group have achieved. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's probably enough words to describe how sort of proud I am of the boys and how hard I know they've worked on and off the pitch. There's been a lot of change this season, more than probably anyone ever envisioned, and the boys have just continued to roll with it. The with the move of training ground, and then obviously the managerial changes, and then the squad's changed quite dramatically in January transfer window. The boys that have been here throughout it have remained consistent, and it's really a testament to them, and I think the gaffer coming in, that we managed to maintain such a promotion push towards the end of the season. And now I feel like we always had second place, we were chasing second place, and now I feel like it's been a great reset. We now know where we are, we now know what we have to do. And like I said, it was a club that isn't used to challenging it like so consistently, and I think people should remember that. I think it's been a season of immense change and immense infrastructure being put in, which for the future of this club is brilliant. Don't get me wrong, long after I'm gone, this club will hopefully have a very solid infrastructure and a solid base put in, and the team has managed to sustain a very successful season throughout all of that. And these games then now give us the chance to still create history. And I love the thing, the sort of mantra the club's putting out is we can be heroes, because let's not forget, I've been here before and we did it. And my message to the boys is that, trust me, every bit of work you do is worth it, because you can achieve something with this club that has only been done once in history. And yeah, it's just, this week has been a brilliant, I think, time for us to reset, recharge, know, like I said at the start, know what we need to do to achieve greatness, and almost sort of get the togetherness and that real bite about us back. And hopefully I feel that we've done this week.
It's been a very tough division as well. There's some big teams in there, and those players at Huddersfield, Bolton, Peterborough, other teams that have been up there in the past, they're going to be looking very sort of green-eyed at you boys. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, it's yeah, absolutely. I think they'll. It's interesting because it's obviously the playoffs happens at such a unique time where everyone else is away on holiday, and you see everyone flying on holiday, and you're now going into your real crunch time of the season. And I've been there before for the last 2 years when we finished 10th or 9th and 10th. That you're then watching the playoff games, thinking, like, knowing what it feels like to be like, I'd love to be involved in them games. And this season we are involved in them with a great chance. And now Charlton are a great side. They've beaten us twice this season, which we are under no illusions of how tough it's going to be. But we feel that when we have shown enough times this season just what we are capable of, and now I feel like we can get back to our best for these playoff games.
And finally, the fans will play their part home and away, and hopefully at Wembley too. Your message to them?
I want to say thank you. I know that the last few games have been under par, of course they have been. The end of the season wasn't what we wanted. Trust me, it didn't hurt anyone more than the players and the manager, I can assure you that, and everyone that works in this club, I can assure you that. And I feel like a thank you is needed, because the season has had so much change, and that's not easy to deal with as fans. You maybe feel like you're losing a grip and you feel like it's less distant, but they've stuck with us at important parts throughout the season. I feel like there's been attendances have fluctuated, of course that happens with every season, but I feel like there's been a core of people that either I know personally or I don't know personally that have been there with us. And whether I've received messages or whether I've received people outside the stadium speaking to me, you people all know who you are. Trust me, like, you are the reason that we do this, and you guys will be at the, that core sort of base will be the people at the forefront of our minds going into these games.